Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is the Mental Wellness Channel with Waihiga. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. So I'd actually recorded this video earlier today, but when I came to editing the video, the lighting was so bad and I just couldn't save the video. And so I just had to do a recording. And so this is going to be my first faceless video, and I hope that you guys don't mind that at all. I have a couple of questions from my subscribers, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting at all. So the next question that I got from my subscribers was, how do you handle bipolar? Take me through the steps of bipolar type 2 in terms of your medication, seeing a psychiatrist, and also the ups and downs of bipolar type 2. So treatment, medications, and seeing the psychiatrist. And I'm going to answer that question today. So I got diagnosed with bipolar in 2018. As you all know, bipolar type 2 is a mood disorder. So it's a disorder of the moods where you have up and down moods. It's an extreme of really high moods and really low moods. And in order to get a diagnosis of bipolar type 2, you need to have, and I'm really talking loosely here, so please do your research, but you need to have been in a hypomanic or a manic phase for at least 4 to 7 days, I believe. And you also need to have been in a depressive state for at least 4 to 7 days. And this is followed by each other. So you have a manic phase and then followed by a depressive state. No in-betweens. And same as hypomania. You have your hypomanic phase and then you go into your depressive phase. Now I'm just paraphrasing. This is my understanding of reading through bipolar and what bipolar is, having been afflicted by this disorder. And talking to psychiatrists, talking to my psychiatrist, talking to psychologists, this is what I've come to understand it to be. In some countries, the threshold for diagnosing bipolar could be 4 days to 7 days to a period of 14 days. It's 4 days to 7 to 14 days of having that yo-yo effect in your moods, where you're very hypomanic. In my case, because I have bipolar type 2, I would be very hypomanic, or I get very hypomanic, where I'm up and down in my moods. I really have a restless mind. I can't stop thinking. I am not able to sleep well. And that's actually one of the signs that I'm going through a hypomanic phase. When I'm not able to sleep well, that's how I know I'm seriously going through a hypomanic phase. But most of the times I don't want to admit it because I'm feeling so good. I'm feeling so productive. I'm feeling so lively. My mind is just racing, and that's when I feel like I can take over the world and, become president, or all my thoughts are really coming at me guns blazing. And that's when you'll see me doing videos back to back to back, because I'll be up all night editing. And I'll have all these ideas about how I want my videos to be. And so I get really hyper-focused. But I'll be tossing and turning and I won't be able to sleep. Now, in bipolar 1, you'll have, and I think that's the bipolar that Kanye West has. Don't quote me on that. This is all alleged. But Kanye West, I think, has bipolar 1. Where the mania is to a point of genius levels, in the sense that your creativity can reach that point. You untap a level of thinking that is brilliant. You really can think outside of the box. But it also comes with a downside. You can get really euphoric, and the person is normally feeling so good that you can't tell them that they're not feeling well, because that's the only time that they are feeling well. But it also comes with risks. A person who is manic or a person who is hypomanic engages in very risky behaviors. Our guard usually comes down and we live life very recklessly. We say whatever is on our minds. We do whatever we feel like we want to do, because we engage in very risky ways. In our minds, we don't have any sense of stopping, any sense of barriers, any filters. We are in a hypomanic or manic state. And where it's dangerous also with someone who's manic is that it leads up to a point of complete psychosis. A person can really go through a mental breakdown where they're seeing or hearing voices, although that is more typical with a schizophrenic. That's more diagnosis for schizophrenic. When someone is hearing and seeing things, that's more diagnosis for schizophrenic. But if you're in a manic state, you can definitely hear and see things that are really not there. And so when the hypomanic phase comes to an end, because it inevitably does, we hit a plateau and then we crash. And the crash is when we hit the depressive phase. When that happens, often we're overcome with feelings and thoughts of unaliving ourselves. This is YouTube, so I can't say the word. We have overwhelming thoughts of unaliving ourselves. So harming ourselves and others comes into play, and we can get to a point where we're very suicidal or homicidal. If the thoughts are too overwhelming, we can act on it. And this is why it is so important to seek medical attention and medical help so that you can get medicated and get intervention. So I first saw my psychiatrist in 2018. I'd been sober for around nine months, and I hit a very bad depression, unlike any other. And that's normal for people in recovery. When we first come into recovery, we all go through this phase called the pink cloud, where we think that our lives are instantaneously going to get better. And obviously it does, because we're now sober. We're living without hangovers. We're living better quality life. However, after some months, you come back down to reality. But the crash for me was very bad. And I instantaneously went to the point of those thoughts, those ideations, and not wanting to be here anymore. And the thoughts were so intense, I couldn't stop them. And obviously I didn't have alcohol anymore to escape. So I couldn't numb the thoughts anymore. They weren't a dull throbbing pulse in the back of my head anymore. They came to the forefront. And I was confronted with these thoughts day and night. And I thought there was really something wrong with me, because I'm sober and I'm supposed to be happy. But I wasn't. And I was trying to work my 12-step program, but I just wasn't getting any real happiness in the program. And so I finally went to see a psychologist. And there's a big difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. A psychologist is a person who went to university and studied the psychology of the brain, so they theoretically studied the theory of how the brain works. And they use this theory to talk you through the different responses and the different ways in which you can walk through trauma, in which you can walk through counseling, and basically cognitive behavioral therapy. So a psychologist knows the behaviors in which you can come out, and behaviors which you can unlearn in order to live a better life. A psychiatrist is a licensed doctor who is able to prescribe you medication that can change your brain chemistry. That's a very important distinction, because a psychologist can't prescribe you medication, but a psychiatrist can. And so most normally what happens is a psychologist and a psychiatrist will work hand in hand. So you go and see the psychologist for talk therapy, and once you've talked with the psychologist and they're able to detect what your problem is, and they're able to dig down the rabbit hole with you and understand your childhood traumas, and what has gotten you to the point that you are in your life, they will work with a psychiatrist in order to fine-tune your medication and see what treatment will work for you. The psychiatrist will also diagnose you with what they think is wrong. So in the beginning, I was diagnosed with major depression, or that's what they thought I had. So I was only put on antidepressants. Antidepressants alone for someone who is bipolar is not good because it takes you on a high and you can't really come down from it. There's nothing to bring you to pad your landing when you crash. And so inevitably I crashed, and that kind of confirmed the diagnosis that I was bipolar. Sometimes I feel like psychiatrists and psychologists throw all these different diagnoses at you, and they throw medications at you and they see what sticks, and then they diagnose you from there. However, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know how they do their diagnosis. So after the crash, I was admitted into hospital, and after hospital, there really is no shame in going into a mental ward, because what you're basically going to do, you're going to be put into a mental ward so that you can be neutralized, so that your thoughts of unaliving yourself and that intensity can be neutralized, and so that you can be able to live a productive, functional life again. And I have no qualms about going to a mental institution sober, which I have done. I went in 2018, 2019, and 2020. I was admitted. I came out of hospital and I had very many medications that I had to take. And these are all the medications that I can remember being on. I'm sure there's many more that I'm forgetting, but I've been on trazodone, I've been on quidipin, I've been on diazepam, I have been on Topamax, Cipralex, and melatonin. I've been on lithium and Valium and Lamictal and Concerta. Those are the main ones that I can remember. And I was on a combination of these drugs for a while. Not all of them at the same time, but some of them. And after a while, the combination wasn't working. Right now, I'm on 2 medications that works really well for me, and that's Cipralex and Topamax. Cipralex is an antidepressant, and Topamax is a mood stabilizer. And these are not happy pills. They don't make me happy. They just stabilize my moods and bring them more towards a straight line rather than the ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. Because I get really low lows. That's what happens with bipolar type 2. The lows stay for a long time, and you can really dig yourself into a deep abyss that is impossible to get out of by yourself, which is why I urge people to seek medical attention. Go speak to someone, go speak to a doctor, go speak to a psychologist, go speak to a psychiatrist, go speak to a counselor, get a diagnosis, and start your medication if that is what they recommend. Talk therapy is also a very good way to combat these emotions, and also journaling really helps. So with a combination of those things, I've been able to stay out of hospital this year. I haven't gone to hospital this year, which is great. I said that I recently just went through a hypomanic phase, and the last 3 weeks I have come out of a depressive episode, which really sucks because I'm very sluggish. My thoughts are really slow. My thoughts are very slow. It's taking a long time to make my videos. It's taking a long time to be productive, to move forward. Yeah, it's taking a long time to be productive, to move forward. But in everything, I'm grateful. In everything, I thank God for the far that I've come, for the fact that this year I haven't been in hospital, for the fact that relapse is not part of my recovery, for the fact that, one day at a time, God is keeping me sober and God is keeping me sane, whatever that may mean to you. But I know what it means to me. And it's also very humbling to know that the world celebrates being in control of your mind, your body, your spirit, your career, your finances. But to me, I'm not even in control of my mind. I'm not in control of my moods. I have to be on medication in order to control my moods. And what it has taught me is complete surrender to God, complete and utter surrender, because there's no other way that I can live. There's no other way I can stay sober without His help, without His power. And there are tools, there are ways in which you can, number one, get sober, and number two, in which you can live a manageable or comfortable or happy life with bipolar 2. And I really encourage you to get help. I really encourage you to get out there and seek medical intervention. Thank you so much for staying this long into my video. And please, guys, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you guys will be able to be notified. And please watch and share this video widely. Thank you guys so much. Until the next video. Goodbye.